Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. Bicycle Retail Radio brings together retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions about the latest issues facing bicycle retailers. The podcast dives deep into the challenges and triumphs of the bicycle industry, providing an in-depth look at the person behind the profession. Aiming to deliver content that's both relatable and thought-provoking, offering real-world tips and insights to help you find success in the bicycle industry. There's a human side of the business, and the podcast aims to share stories, experiences, and strategies that you can apply in your own shop. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a sense of community, you've come to the right place. The National Bicycle Dealer Association has a rich history of supporting retailers across the nation. Founded in 1946 with a mission to strengthen specialty bicycle retailers through education, through research, through communication, and through advocacy. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is proudly supported by our members and our membership. If you'd like to learn more about the benefits of joining, please visit NBDA.com.
Hello, industry professionals. Stay connected and up to date with the latest in the bike industry by joining the NBDA today for just $79 a year. That's a $50 savings with code BRR50. Whether you're a sales rep, shop employee, or an industry veteran, NBDA membership gives you access to valuable perks. Engage with peers and stay ahead of industry trends this year. Use code BRR50 at checkout to save $50 on your annual membership today. Code is valid for all new members purchasing an annual membership for an individual. Get ready to embrace the future of specialty bicycle retail. The NBDA Retailer Summit Central in Bentonville, Arkansas is your gateway to operational excellence, financial growth, and long-term success in an ever-evolving industry. From insightful panel discussions to hands-on workshops, you'll explore strategies for profitability, innovation, and embracing trends like e-mobility. In 2025, it's not just about selling bikes. It's about building a smarter business, engaging with your community, and setting the standard for the future of retail. Let's make it happen. Visit nbda.com to secure your spot today.
All right, listeners, welcome back to Bicycle Retail Radio. Thanks for being here. This is our Technician Flex. It's an ongoing podcast feature focused specifically on service center and mechanics. And it's produced in partnership with NBDA educational partner, Northwest Arkansas Community College Bicycle Assembly and Repair Technician Program Director, Benjamin Glenn. Ben, thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure. Looking forward to this episode. We've got some great questions. The college is moving along. The program's going great, and looking forward to continuing connections with the NBDA.
It's absolutely fabulous. I feel like you and I have been talking a lot recently, retailers reaching out, asking questions, trying to figure out how they can get in touch with you to see what mechanics are graduating. They want to take some of your cohorts into their shop. So it's thrilling to work with you and the Northwest Arkansas Community College. Listeners, if this is the first time you're hearing about the mechanics educational training in Northwest Arkansas, please, we link in the show notes to the college bicycle technician program. This is made possible in a partnership with the Bicycle Industry Employers Association. And through that, they offer an accredited certification in bicycle assembly and repair. And mechanics are gaining skills in wheel repair, assembly, bearing, suspension systems, service department operations, which we get into today, electric bikes, and more. And Ben's been just so busy rolling out new programs, and I know some stuff to come, right, Ben?
Yeah, we have some great changes coming to the program for our cohort that's happening through the BIEA folks, and that is going to be a change to the length of this program. So typically our college semesters is 16 weeks. Well, recently, within the past 5 years or so, nationwide, a lot of colleges are going to more of a fast track program. So we're going to take that 16 weeks and turn it into 8-week semesters. So our fall, we'll have our first group of courses, our 5 courses for 8 weeks, and then we'll switch over to 4 courses a little bit more advanced. You mentioned them, the wheels course, our suspension course, service operations, and e-bikes as well. So folks can come in, start in August, and be done with the entire program by the first week of December. So,
wow, I love how you're rolling out new things. It's awesome.
Yeah, just trying to keep up with changes that are happening within higher ed and also with the workforce training. And we've realized that this is a lot faster track to get folks through. Still, the seat time is the same. It's 45 hours per class or course, but you're going to get through the entire program a lot faster and jump right into the workforce.
Ben, I feel like time is just going by so quickly. I mean, I've known you now for a couple years, and in that time, I'm imagining you've graduated several students and you're placing into our workforce, into our industry, qualified technicians. Thank you for the work you're doing there.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I love working with the industry. I love working with education, of course. I've got a great team of instructors. Ronnie and Adam have really brought some great insight and real world knowledge to the courses and have been able to really dive deep into our wheels course, our suspension course, brakes, drivetrain. I've really taken those courses and the sky's the limit almost with those two. So, wouldn't be able to do this program. I was just talking with Laura Montero with Bosch yesterday. She was in doing a training on e-bikes. And, I was like, I would not know what to do without these 2 instructors and a great team they are, and just, how they're supporting students. So
Laura is great. She's absolutely awesome. All right. So listeners, let's get into this. What we do on this Technician Flicks is we actually answer the retailer's questions. So as a retailer, as a show listener, if you have questions when it comes to the service department, mechanics, anything with the service department operations, you can email me at heather@nbda.com, and Ben and I will answer your questions during our Technician Flicks. You're going to love the questions that we have submitted today. Lots of great questions, and it's always hard to pick just a couple, but these both centered around service shop operations, which in our P2 program, in our member mingles, we have a lot of retailers always talking about efficiency, check-in process, check-out procedure. So I thought these would be good to I picked 2 that are all around service shop operations, less mechanical, and we wanted to address those today. And these will hopefully help you drive revenues and refine your systems. Ben, you ready for this? You ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
I love how you're always ready for whatever. All right, so the first one is from a shop owner in Florida. And here we go. The question: I am reevaluating our service check-in process. I have several technicians, each of whom can perform a check-in, but some do it better than others. Do you have any suggestions to make my process uniform while ensuring we expect the whole bike, not just what the customer asks for, and at the same time maximize the profit potential of each bike that comes in? This is a big question, Ben.
Yeah, a few takeaways there from that question for sure. First of all, it's great to hear that this owner, this retailer, is reviewing those processes. They're thinking about how can I improve in order to be more efficient. They see efficiency as the gateway to profitability, which is absolutely fantastic. And kudos to this retailer for going in that route. Hopefully they'll continue that with other services they offer. We're fixing to head into a really busy season. Our business is seasonal in a lot of places in the U.S. And this check-in process is vital to that success of our work orders and accurate work orders, as this retailer's understanding. This work order, of course, is going to connect those mechanics that are performing the service to the customer. So it's the key to unlocking what actually am I going to do on this bike is the technician. So we got to be accurate, detailed. We can't miss any steps, because these will, again, lead to that inaccurate work order. And if we have an inaccurate work order, this is going to lead to some spiraling issues. It's going to snowball. It's going to delay the pickup, the delivery of that bike. So, we've got to, be as thorough as we can be when that customer's there and we're talking through that, issue the customer's having. And different types of customers are going to, of course, need a little bit more time than others. We're going to have to spend a little bit more time discussing what actually they want to do with this bike. This first step of that checking process must also follow some type of roadmap so that we can hand it off to our technician, but also so we can train our new people coming in. Or, if you and I are working the same day or you're working another day, we have to have the same process. It has to be kind of a roadmap. So the first step to the check-in process, we always want to talk about the rider's needs. This portion of the advising process has almost nothing to do with the actual bike. Right. So this retailer pointed that out. What other things other than just talking to the customer about their needs, how can we make sure that they are actually getting that full bike assessment? A lot of technicians are going to want to jump straight to the bike. It's what we know, what we're comfortable with. The bike is easy. The bike's going to tell us what's wrong with it. And let's admit it, fixing a bike's problem is a lot easier than fixing a human's problem. So, we're comfortable with the bike. Humans, maybe it can be a little murky sometimes.
It can be. We
definitely don't want to skip this part, though. This is really, really important that we make sure that we're talking with the rider about what they want to do, asking those open-ended questions as well, knowing the goals they want to, they have for that bike. What aspirations do they have? Are they looking to jump into the Mid-South bike race? Maybe. Are they just wanting to get across town so they can get their groceries or go to their job? Let's figure out exactly what their end goal with this bike is.
Ben, I love that, because in one of our P2 meetings, someone said we should stop and we should say, how do you envision yourself using this bike? What is your end goal? And that'll get you so much clarity on how you can actually help the rider.
I love that. Yeah, that is great. I love the end goal. What do you want to do with this? Yeah. Are they riding carbon wheels on their commuter bike? Maybe that's not the best wheel choice. I don't know. Is it a low spoke count? Well, let's maybe change that and talk to them about why that they're continuing to have an issue. I don't know. So our first step is to identify those needs. What does the customer want to do? From there, we need to create that roadmap to actually complete that, have a complete evaluation. So assessment of the bike, complete assessment of the bike. We want to also bring that customer with us in this journey to finally getting to our work order, right? We want to make sure they know the steps. So, hey, customer, can I take your bike, put it in the stand, let them know what we're doing in this process as well. Now, sounds like it's going to be really slow, but this process actually can go really fast the more we do it. So repetition is key. This retailer is thinking about this, wants to bring each employee up to this same standard. Yeah. So fantastic opportunity to practice with each of our technicians. Have your technician train, bring in another technician, peer-to-peer kind of thing. So we do this exercise in class where classmates, your peers are the customer and you're the technician checking this and going through the advising process. So from the assessment, we want to create an estimate, of course, and present the estimate as a solution, not as something you have to buy. So not as a product, but a solution to get them to where they want to go. Like you stated, their end goal, right?
Yeah. So Ben, you suggest that we do role playing. So before you open the shop. Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we've got downtime occasionally. The off season is a perfect time to do a little bit of role play with our employees to make sure that we're all where we want to be. Once, we're, 20 customers deep on a Saturday morning and we've got 10 people working in the shop. So, it gets busy. Yeah. So having some type of roadmap there, doing some role playing with your technicians to make sure we're all, on the same page, everyone from your most advanced to the brand new employee that's coming in, bring everyone on the same page and let them have a voice in that process as well. That's really important that, hey, here's what I see. This doesn't really work for us as the employee. What if we changed it to this language or that language? So, let that employee have a voice, bring them all along, and it should work out pretty well once you've got a couple of these under your belt.
I like that. And so this is a system that people can put into place. So assess the bike, create an estimate. The estimate is a solution, and then create a pathway to handle those objections as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thing with the objections, a silence is not a no, right? Mm-hmm. That customer needs a little bit of time to process what you just presented to them, which is, just sometimes a $200 solution. they're processing how that actually works. Let them ask questions. If it's a 30 seconds quiet time, then, it's a good idea to say, hey, what do you think? How does this look into you? How does this sound? Like, oh, are you saying no? That, we don't want to take them down that road of automatically objecting to everything. And then confirm those expectations as well. Restate the services being performed, the prices, and completion dates. Hey, here's what we're going to do again. Here's the service we're going to perform to get your bike where we want to get it. Here's the pricing on that particular service or what we're going to do with that bike. And then we'll have it ready for you next Tuesday. We'll give you a call. We'll send you a text. You'll get an email. However, our POS system is going to communicate with that rider.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a really good process. Some suggestions, though. If you've already got a good process that's working for you, maybe one or two of these might be helpful.
When assess the bike part, just to get a little more granular, do you suggest that every retailer, it would be wise if there's a standardized way that a bike is assessed, like from front to back, starting with the front wheel, going through the whole bike to the rear wheel, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we go through this process called the M check. So basically the hub to the handlebar, down to the bottom bracket, up to the seat, and then to the rear hub. So front to back, pretty much. So inspecting the front tire, spinning that wheel, we're checking for that wobble. We're listening for disc brake rub at the same time. We're going to pull that brake to make sure it works. Is the hub loose? What if we have a full suspension bike? We're getting hold of those lowers to see if there's any movement there. Inspecting the stanchions for any scratches. Looking at those dust wiper seals. Moving on up to the controls, the headset, the handlebar, and then we're going to go down to the top tube, the down tube. We're going to inspect the front part of the drivetrain. So yeah, an M-Check works really well. So having an actual assessment process, so we can be streamlined in this particular step of the checking in.
Yeah, I think that's so important. We used to do that at my store, and because people come in they want a flat, but you really still, even with a basic flat repair, should always do the M check or assess the bike from front to back, because you're liable as a retailer doing any work on that bike.
Yeah, absolutely. You take that in, and they go out and their rear brake doesn't work. You didn't even touch the back part of this bike. So we need to, make sure that we're, kind of having a process to go through that every time we get a bike in. I had a thought there, and then I got thinking about this, what you mentioned. So sorry about that. Maybe it'll come to me there. Yeah, let's continue. So sorry.
Yeah, no, that happens to me too. All right. Well, that was really good advice. That was a great question. I was glad to see that one come in. Another one it comes from an owner in Colorado. And it's something that mentions something that I had said during a meeting. All right, let me just read the question. So the question is, our P2 moderator pushed us to focus on suggesting replacing a part with a new part rather than repairing it, or even offering a new part just as an upgrade. I don't want to make the customer feel like they need to pay for something they don't need, but this idea of replacement and upgrade instead of repair is interesting to me. I want to get my team on board. And my question would be, are there guidelines for replacement of parts? i.e., do you suggest every number of year versus use and wear, or is it up to the shop based on cost to repair versus replace? And then the second question is, what would the most common upgrade items be that I should keep in stock that might be easy for my mechanics to suggest while lending to an improved rider experience? So you understand the question, I think, like upgrade versus repair, or replace versus repair. Yeah.
Yeah. So the age-old question, repair versus replace.
Yeah.
It is a tough one because we're mechanics. We like to fix things. So we see something broken, we want to make sure that we can fix that and get it back up to working. Whether that's a bicycle or where our washing machine goes out, we're like, hey, yeah, I can fix that. I have the tools and the knowledge. I can problem solve. So, unfortunately, though, we work in the service industry, and one of our top goals is to improve that customer's experience, be it through repairing or replacing. So we're talking about the customer's experience here. What's going to be best for them? the repair or the replace. And to kind of answer the question about, guidelines for this dilemma, there's going to be some of those cases where the best pathway is to lay out all the possible solutions and allow that customer to decide and talk them through each of those solutions as well. Other cases, the advisor should definitely propose the best solution. So it's really about understanding your customer and what they want to do with the bike as far as repair versus replace. Sometimes providing more choices is not really going to serve the customer's needs. They get this, what I like to call decision paralysis. What should I do? Where should I go? All of these sound great or none of them sound great. They're all, horrible. And then they get this, did I make the right choice? It's kind of, which wire do I clip to diffuse this problem we have here? I don't know. There's a lot of things happening. They can get a little overloaded. And if we've done the right work or done the work to understand the customer's needs or the rider's needs before inspecting that bike, in a lot of cases, our knowledge is going to lead us the right way, to the right solution. So that's a good start to, repair versus replace, understanding the rider's needs, inspecting that bike, suggesting the solution that will bring the bike in line with the needs of the rider. Now, that's kind of the repair versus replace part. And I think there was a second part of this question, or the second question in here, right?
Yeah, like how do we get make the customer not think that we're trying to upgrade them, right? That I think that was part of it too,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to offend anyone, right? But we also don't want to sell out of our own pocket. So if we see the bike, what is this bike? What are they trying to do with this? What's going to be the best solution here? How can I present that solution to that customer where it's not going to be either elitist or offensive, or maybe this is sometimes not good enough as well. So knowing our customer, asking those open-ended questions in the beginning, kind of going back to what I said on that first one, understanding that customer's needs and where they want to go with this bike. What's their end goal with this bike? And presenting a new part might actually be the best bet. Now, sometimes we're looking at, drivetrain, and if they have a derailleur, it needs some new pulleys. We need to put, some time into fixing that. Sometimes, that's going to be a little bit more costly, or at least cost a little bit more time than the customer really wants. So also understanding, when do they want this back? When do they actually want to have this bike in their possession so they can continue what they, their goals with the bike. So time is another thing to consider as well. How long is it going to take you to rebuild that versus putting a new part on it? And also, what kind of guarantee can I give that customer if I do rebuild this? So another piece to understand, am I going to have to clean every bolt, clean all the old Loctite off, refresh that Loctite whenever I put this back together?
I'm already leaning towards replace. Just talking to you, I'm like, let's replace this, baby. But there was a third question too, Ben, in that. In the one question, we actually had three, right? So the other one was, what common upgrade items should I keep in stock that might be easy for my mechanics to suggest, right? Because then sometimes I feel like mechanics don't always suggest upgrade parts or replacement parts because they have to figure out what part number, the compatibility, you know what I mean? So it's easier just to be like,
I'll just fix what's on there.
Yeah,
it is very time consuming, right? Compatibility is a huge barrier sometimes to upgrading or at least selling a brand new part. How long is it going to take me as the service advisor to actually go through and make sure we're compatible here? That can be a pretty lengthy process. And this is where I would say this is where, some training on the back end could come into play, having knowledge of, Shimano 4700, what's it compatible with versus, the 105 group set, the 5800, I think is what I'm thinking about 10 speed wise. But, those group sets, yes, they are both 10 speed, but are they compatible? Can I use a 105 derailleur with that, Tiagra shifter? Mm-hmm. So pieces like that, it takes a lot of knowledge. I will say inventory is not easy at all, period. It's not an easy thing. It's an art. It's a science. You're up against those constant changes with compatibility, new product coming out. And our bike shops, a lot of bike shops are a seasonal business. So when do I even keep this stuff in stock? How do I go through this, sell through of the product so I don't have all of this wasted space and, kind of that, storage space, having to pay for that particular item on the floor, keeping it there. I will also say this is one area that is ripe for continuous improvement. It sounds like your P2 group is absolutely on the right track of reevaluating processes, and then also trying to answer challenging questions like this and coming together for some type of, standard process for getting this done correctly or as close to correct as we can get. For service departments, for our mechanics, for the customer, that bike, that fast turnaround time is very, very vital to our service department, to the success. We don't want to have a bike for 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 days at max is really what we want. I mean, ideally, I don't want to drop my bike off at a bike shop for what I consider something that should be relatively easy for a professional, and it takes a week and I miss some riding time.
Right.
That's no fun.
No.
Our service departments are also juggling kind of 3 different things to win this customer. What I've identified is 3 different items that we have to kind of keep up in the air going, which is quality work, some, that turnaround time as well. And of course, pricing. Pricing is huge. Yeah. That's a tough one. MSRP, MAP pricing is all out there. But at the same time, what kind of pricing have I historically given to this product?
Yeah, but
how is that?
Then if your quality of work is great and you can turn that bike around in like 24 to 48 hours, is price that important, right? Like, 'cause people are willing to pay for good stuff, right? I mean, I know it's important, but like, if you master those first 2, no?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Quality work and turnaround time. If you can master those, you don't even have to focus on pricing, which is, great. I don't want to focus on pricing. I just want to work on bikes and, elevate that customer's experience. Now, as far as like stocking, what can we stock? I wish we could stock everything and everything was just in time. I could order it today and I'm going to get it tomorrow. Well, that's not reality. We can't stock everything, nor should we stock everything. I like to identify stocking parts for our current bikes that are on the sales floor. What am I selling? What group sets are on there? So stocking items that are going to allow me to repair with whatever OEM spec that is. And then maybe thinking about an upgrade. So thinking about good, better, best. Is the idea here to have all 3? Maybe we just need the good and the better, or just the better. So understanding the pricing we have on the sales floor, what bikes they are, and then maybe we have an upgrade part or 2 for that. Also, another piece there is looking back to what we've sold the last 2 or 3 years. Now, there's been a lot of changes with dealers and what we've sold in the last 2 or 3 years, given the climate that's happening with inventory industry-wide. So maybe we're not selling that particular brand anymore, but we did at one point. So let's look at that and keep a few of those parts on hand as well. And honestly, this next thing I want to talk about, so as far as like balancing inventory, is maybe a little bit more into economics than we're talking about here, but I think it's important. There's this principle called the Pareto principle. Have you heard of this?
No, I'm ready though. Drop it on me.
So this is also known as the 80-20 rule. I got a longer lecture on this one. And I think we discussed beforehand about doing some of those. So the 80-20 rule, what does this mean? What it means for the bike industry, and for me as a buyer or person that's in charge of inventory, 20% of our inventory is likely responsible for generating 80% of the profits.
That makes sense.
So 20%, so if we apply this to like baseball, 20% of the players are responsible for 80% of the wins. Pretty interesting, right? Mm-hmm. So what is this? How can we apply this? Let's identify our 20%, right? What's our 20%? What's our most successful inventory? Where do we sell the most? Wow, on a Saturday, we go through almost all the tubes we have in stock. Yeah. Maybe I need to be stocking more tubes, more tires, whatever that may be. Even looking at brands, is this brand more successful for the bar tape than the other brand? Yeah. So what am I stocking, right?
I'm just thinking people can use their data too. They can do a simple pull of data, see what they've sold, and that'll help them isolate that 20%.
Yeah, what's my 10 top items on the sales floor
Mhm.
on my accessory rack? Absolutely. Use your data, use your POS system. There's some fantastic ones out there. And some new players coming to the US. I'm excited about that opportunity as well. So what does this mean on the service side? Well, what's our go-to service? What are we doing the most of? Using that data, pull what services we've sold in the last year. What's our highest numbers there? Quantity, what's our quantity? Also, another one to look at is items per ticket as well. What items do show up on more tickets more often? How many of those items am I selling for this particular, if I'm selling a bike, hey, well, my technicians are suggesting this particular chain lube, so that's getting added on more frequently. So frequency of that turnover as well is a good one to look at.
Yeah, and then what we ask our P2 members to do is think about, okay, if you're selling that mid-level tune for $90 and that is the number one you sell, well, what if that mid-level tune is now 99? You take that extra $9 and multiply it by how many you sold, and there you go. Or even the lube. What if you add $1 to that lube? What does that do to your bottom line? So
Yep.
armed with
And
that, it's good.
another one to think about is also a product going stale. So if we have a product on our sales floor that does well, and this is also for multi-shop locations, so it does well at this shop for, let's say, 2 years, and then we have the next another product or the same product at another store. It does well for 3 years. Maybe we don't need to carry this at the first store. Maybe that second store is the best place to keep this product, or maybe we should get rid of this product altogether. And to your point there, your good, better, best, and also the pricing. What if we increase the pricing on that go-to service like your tune-up? Does the basic tune-up even exist anymore? Is it always that mid-tier? Is it always the premium? How many of those premium tune-ups are we selling? Is the pricing too close together as well? So do we have kind of our pricing is too close together? Yeah.
There's so much to think about in that question. I like these two questions. I like that people are focused on this. I think that this is a great time. We're recording in March, so we're about to just probably get the influx of spring repairs. So if we can get this systemized check-in process down, get the whole team on board, so we're not missing anything, that'll maximize the revenue potential of the bikes that come in for service. Also, it enhances the customer experience, make sure we're getting them matched up to their vision of where they want to go with their bikes. And then thinking about, okay, not just repairing, but replacing or suggesting upgrades.
Absolutely.
Ben,
Yeah, quality work, turnaround time. We're not going to have to worry about that pricing as well. And then thinking about what's your best services you offer? What's the most popular? What are we selling the most of? What are we not selling as well? Oh, I haven't sold a wheel build in 6 years. Well, maybe you don't need that on your service menu anymore.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was a question that we were analyzing too. Do we need to look at our service menus because are they like outdated with the new items that are coming in? Are we using terminology that we're not even doing anymore because we have electric shifting and we have tubeless and all this? So that's a whole nother.
Absolutely.
That's a whole nother.
Yes. Yeah. Our brake bleed. What is a brake bleed? Are we just doing a flush? Are we doing a lever bleed? Maybe we shouldn't even list out the different types of brake bleeds we can do and just call it a brake bleed and just do a full service on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe for our next episode. Ben, once again, you crushed it. You just really such a wealth of knowledge over there. So great that you continue to come back and do these technician flicks for the NBDA, for our retailers, members at large, for the industry. Looking forward to seeing you at the Retailer Summit Central, May 20th through 22nd. I know we'll have a tour opportunity of the facility, and I think also possible some educational opportunities that we'll be announcing soon. So really excited about that.
Yeah, the summit, geez, that's coming up. It seems like we just stopped. We just had one.
I know.
So it's here, right? It's here pretty much. Yeah, we're working on an e-bike clinic for mechanics, for technicians, even curious folks that might just want to take the knowledge back. So this will be a hands-on opportunity for you to come in the lab just after lunch on those days. We'll do about a 2-hour clinic, and we'll talk through some troubleshooting, some diagnostics of e-bikes, We just got some new e-bikes in. Got a new fleet of Trek rails with the Bosch system. Super excited about that. We're working closely with Bosch on some future opportunities and doing some long-term planning with them. Our e-bike clinic will be focused on repair, with troubleshooting, diagnostics as well. How to even approach, if you're a new technician or you're considering, maybe you do have e-bikes that come in, but it's not a main part of your service. How can you increase that service to your e-bike customers?
Excellent. Once we have that information, listeners, we'll make it available on the NBDA website. Ben, thanks for being here. That wraps up our episode for today. Always a pleasure. And for those who are listening while you're driving or running, you can head over to our YouTube channel. The version of this episode will be there. You can see the facility behind Ben, see our pretty faces, all that good stuff. Ben, thank you so much.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, listeners, thank you for listening. Thanks for being members of the NBDA. Head over to the website, nbda.com. You can learn more about what we're doing and sign up for our free newsletter. And with this,
thank you for tuning into Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a review. Sharing this podcast with your friends helps us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content. Remember, we host 2 shows per week with ever-changing guests and fresh content to keep you both informed and inspired. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is committed to providing valuable events, webinars, and opportunities for industry education and connection. Stay up to date by visiting nbda.com to see our event calendar. Special thanks to Francis Abbott for the promotional graphics for today's episode. If you're interested in advertising on Bicycle Retail Radio or have a guest suggestion, visit nbda.com to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bicycle Retail Radio.